Excellent. Hey, happy Friday, everybody. Mike Brenhaug here with Lead Squeezers. And I can't believe it. We are in December. 2021 is actually coming to an end. And so what we're doing today and the next Friday, instead of talking about CRM and sales and marketing and all that good stuff, we're going to be talking about setting you up to win in 2022. This is something I do every year about this time of year, helping agents, helping sales professionals get prepared for the following year. You don't want to go into January floundering, trying to figure stuff out. You need to take care of that right now and take the time during the holidays to think about what it is you want to accomplish for 2022. Okay. And so we're going to cover a couple things. The first one I'm going to cover is breaking through barriers to become unstoppable. Oftentimes as we're sitting here, we're thinking about the following year, we're thinking about our goals, and we look past and those goals that we haven't achieved. And I know for myself, in the past years, oftentimes I look at it that, I can see that goal and it's almost like there's a glass wall or a glass ceiling, right? I can see it, I can reach it, but I just can't break through. And that can be kind of frustrating. So I want to share with you some strategies on how to bust through that. Okay. Because it really, really does make a difference. So we're going to, jump into that right now. So you guys should be able to see my screen. If you can't, please send me a chat. Let's go ahead and jump into this. So one of the questions here that you see on the screen, why do some people succeed and others don't? So I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, this was a burning question that I really had in my mind. It's like, why is it that some people succeed and others don't? And there's many different factors and variables and all that good stuff. But I really, did some time researching. I've always been one to, be involved in goals and, self-help books, all that good stuff. And it's really intrigued me. But even then, you look at the self-help industry, all the people that read self-help books, all the people that have goals, why do some people still not succeed? It happens, right? And so that's a big one that I really wanted to dive into and learn more about, especially back in 2008, 2009 timeframe when, I became a professional, sales and business coach at that time. And, you really dive into it, you work with a lot of people and you really understand it on a very deep level. And so for me, and what I'm going to share with you are some of the things that I discovered. Okay. So let's move on to, there you go. So here's what happens real quickly. So over time, we are trained from, early age. No. And by the time we're 5, we hear the word no 40 million times. And we hear it over and over and over. Now we have a new puppy that's about 6 months old. And I can tell you, what did she hear? No, right? That's just our life. And so we become programmed, to hear no. And we're reminded that, all the time. Also, as we're growing up and depending on your home environment, depending on what your parents were doing financially, you may hear things, life is hard, life is difficult, life is challenges, full of challenges. Money doesn't grow on trees. I don't have a tree in the backyard that grows money. We hear all this, or, play it safe. That was a big one. Don't do that. Play it safe. You don't want to take risk. And so all these things contribute to us limiting our beliefs, limiting us from taking action or moving forward. And, and so it starts there. It's kind of a problem. So this goes on for many years, not just in your home, but as you, go through school, elementary, high school, and even college, where the risk takers. And I'm not talking about life-threatening risk, although there are people that, put themselves out there in certain sports and do that. But, just living life, putting yourself out there and experiencing things, learning. And here's the deal. The reason people tell us no, and all this is in their mind and in their heart, They're looking out for the best for us, right? They don't want us to get hurt emotionally, all right, or financially, whatever it may be. But here's the deal: we only learn when we experience those challenges. When we fail, when we make mistakes, are the best blessings that you could have. That is how we learn. And somehow in society, we've become programmed that and really soft that we can't fall down, we can't make any mistakes, we can't get emotionally hurt, otherwise we got to be safe, we got to go to safe space. It's just created really soft people, and that's part of the problem there. So now when you get into the real world and you're trying to make it, and you have your goals, you're trying to just do everything that you possibly can to have the energy, to have the self-esteem, to have the confidence to get out there. It makes it really challenging. All right. And so we need to change that. We need to change the limiting beliefs and the mindset. So there's some things that I'm going to share with you here. Limiting beliefs. What is it? Well, limiting beliefs that limit your potential. They not only limit your potential, but they limit you from taking action on things that your gut might tell you to take action, but you have this other voice and these outside voices like, oh, I got to play it safe. I don't want to do that. I don't know how I'm going to look if I do that. Somebody may post something on social media, or, maybe I'll lose a client, or whatever it may be. There's so many things that are going in your head. But the thing is, by doing that, you're limiting yourself, right? You're not experiencing, you're not testing your skills and ability in the working environment, or is whatever your goal is that you're pursuing, right? So it's really important to learn how to break out of that. Here's the thing. We are all born with strengths or with gifts, however you want to look at it. We're all different, right? Some people are born to be athletes. Some people are born to be engineers or CPAs. Some people are born to be, musicians. So we're all different. We need to experience and discover what those strengths are. There's plenty of books out there. One of my favorite books when learning more about yourself and discovering is it's called Discover Your Strengths. And you can Google it out there, go on Amazon. Great book, because you can, as you're growing up, and I know it can be frustrating for parents, you want your kids to do this, right? Well, they might not have the DNA and the mindset and the, to be able to do that. That's not what they're geared for, right? That's not the strength or gift that they have. So it's important that we learn to our strengths and learn how to use those strengths. And the only way we can learn how to use those strengths is by taking risk. Okay. And again, I'm not talking about risks that are gonna, we're jumping off a cliff, that type of risk, you know what I mean? But that's the only way we learn. And we learn how to use our strengths, learn if it's even a strength, whether it's, snow skiing or in sports. That's why sports are so, I'm a big fan of sports and activities for kids when they're going through school. It's how they learn. How are they going to know if they're good at football or baseball or golf or track, whatever it may be, unless they get involved in multiple sports? My kids were in sports. I'll never forget Megan and Andrew. Got Andrew involved in karate. Thought, he needs karate, right? Well, got Megan involved in karate also. Andrew hated karate. We made him stick with it. But Megan, she thrived at karate, double black belt. She absolutely loved it. Who would have thought, right? But anyways, it's about breaking through those limiting beliefs. So how do you break through, the barriers? And there's a couple examples that I'll give you. Again, I love to read, love self-help books. For me, they're inspiring. It encourages me. And I like to really try and take it to the limit. And there's oftentimes I feel like I don't take it to the limit or stretch it as far as I could. All right. But I love this here. Whatever the mind of a man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. You've heard this before. This is an old quote from Napoleon Hill. But when you look at some of the other stories, and I was actually surprised at how many people are not familiar with this gentleman, Roger Bannister, first man to break the 4-minute mile. Before it was like, hey, nobody can run 4-minute mile. It ain't gonna happen. Your lungs are gonna explode. You'll have a heart attack, right? It's not gonna happen. Well, he did it, and now everybody does it, right? It's not a big deal. But see, it's breaking through that barrier, that limiting belief. As soon as somebody else does it, somebody else can, right? And that's what's pretty amazing about that. Same here in business. Now, many of you on the call are in life insurance, and we have a handful of realtors on the call and financial advisors. And so on the life insurance side, it's like, how much can you write a month? It used to be, 20 grand a month was pretty good, or 30 grand. Now there's people that are crazy writing, 80, 100, $150,000 a month, under their own pen. It just blows me away. And there's more and more people doing that, right? Now they're busier than ever. They're focused, they're efficient, but at the same time, they're not afraid to work hard. They're not afraid to make mistakes. They're not afraid to have a no-show. They're not afraid to get hung up on. They're not afraid to get a no if they ask for the sell, right? They're out there. They're going like gangbusters. And I think that is just phenomenal. I think it's awesome. And so anyways, be thinking about that. And even though I know you've heard this before, really just kind of noodle on it, right? Ruminate on it. Whatever the mind of a man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And I look at, all right, who do you want to look at? You want to look at Jeff Bezos? You want to look at Elon Musk? Unbelievable. That just fires me up when I think about those guys and what they've started from scratch. Unbelievable, isn't it? So anyways, as an insurance agent, how do you break through the other side? Well, and let's throw in financial advisors and realtors, because we have, those folks on the call as well. Decision begins within you, and making a conscious decision that you will succeed, right? And I'm going to share another tool coming up in a couple slides. And attitude is a big part of it. Attitude is a big part. Adopt, and I love this here. This is for me. Failure is not an option. Right? Failure is not an option. So what does that mean? Failure is not an option. There is no going back, right? There's no going back. In my WTF book, one of the things that I talk about is that, and you've heard this before, well, people say, well, what's your plan A? And then what's your plan B, right? Well, oftentimes, if you think about this, if you have a plan B, are you already kind of thinking that failure is an option because I may fail at my plan A, and I'm just going to resort to my plan B, right? So when I was coaching individuals, I would say, let's get your plan A right. If you have that much fear, maybe plan A is not the right plan, or maybe it's too aggressive right now. Okay, so let's dial in the right plan A, focus on that, so you can say failure is not an option attitude. It makes a difference. It really makes a difference on how you approach things. And then awareness, know what holds you back, so you have a conscious awareness and can make intelligent, and I want to emphasize that, intelligent decisions, not emotional decisions. Now, we are emotional beings, right? We make emotional decisions all day long. And another favorite topic, if you haven't done any reading on emotional intelligence, definitely want to read up. One of my first books that I read on emotional intelligence, Daniel Goldberg, it's just awesome. You really get to understand your own mind, and it will give you greater control. And real quick, so, here's what happens is when we have and something that happens, okay? And I'll use a perfect example here. You're hiking out on a trail, you come across a rattlesnake, right? And when you come across a rattlesnake, there's part of your brain that is going to react quickly to get yourself out of harm's way, all right? Now, there's another part of your brain that does the processing. that is more logical and to render the intelligent decision. Well, what happens is oftentimes when we smell something, and I've got an In-N-Out burger right down the street here, awesome hamburgers, right down the street from my house. If I'm driving by and I smell that In-N-Out burger and it's around lunchtime and I know I'm trying to, lose weight and be fit and eat clean and all that stuff, and boy, I smell that's more of an emotion, right? It's pulling me in. And so you really need to think about it. And this is where goals are powerful, having written goals so that you can help yourself make an intelligent decision and not an emotional. We'll talk more about that next week as well. And I talk about that in my book. But this is big, creating the awareness, knowing what holds you back. What are your weaknesses, right? What are your derailers? And then focus. Know what the right things are, the right things, the right actions, the right sales activities, the right volume of leads, the right type of leads, all these things. What is it that is right for you to get you to where you want to be, to achieve the goals that you want to achieve? What are those right things? Oftentimes, we find ourselves spinning our wheels on the wrong activities. We're busier than ever, but we're not getting the results because it's not the right activities. All right. I see that often. And hey, every once in a while I get sucked in. I'm guilty of that too, right? You get focused on the not important, some of the admin things. And sometimes they need to be done, but can they be outsourced? Is there somebody else that can do that for you so you can focus on the most important things? All right. So these are a couple key things that we're going to focus on here. And I've got a tool that I'm going to share with you that will allow you to kind of bring everything together to get organized so you can focus on the right things. All right. So I always ask this to people because here's the deal. Emotionally and with your attitude, your mindset, you have to be ready. You have to be ready to draw that line in the sand and say, this is the year. We're in 2021. Whether you had a good year, bad year, mediocre year, whatever it may be, is 2022. What are you going to do that's different? Are you going to draw that line in the sand and say, this is my year. I'm going to make it happen no matter what, right? I'm going to go balls to the wall. It's just going to happen. I'm not going to make any excuses. I'm just going to do everything that I can. So, and this is something for yourself. Are you ready? Because if you're not, I'm going to be honest with you, nothing's going to change in 2022. You may start off for the first 30 days, 60 days, and then you'll just fizzle out, right? So you really have to make that gut, that heart, draw the line and say, this is it. I'm making it happen come hell or high water. Does that make sense? It's really an attitude. So let's move on. Now, many of you that know me, you've heard me, you probably know what this is, but for many people, when they look at this, what's the first thing that comes to mind? They're going to think, what the F, right? Definitely a play on words. So back in 2009 or 2010, when I wrote this book, a lot was going on during that time. And a lot of the sales professionals and business owners here in the Orange County area that I was coaching, this is very common. I'll never forget, one of the gentlemen hired me as a coach. He's like, Mike, what the F is going on in my business? And you have to realize during that time, for people that didn't experience that 2008 through 2010, a lot of people lost their homes, lost their jobs. The stock market crashed, real estate market crashed. And so they're thinking, WTF, what the F is going on, right? Well, what's interesting is that's the first thing that comes to mind. Remember, we're emotional beings, right? But when you look at it, when you can take a step back, and, I had I guess the benefit of being able to do this as a professional, coach, but many people don't, is you can look at things from a different perspective. And also, I wasn't living that moment that this gentleman was. And, he does very well, Coda de Casa, used to making millions of dollars a year. And all of a sudden, who moved your cheese, right? You've probably heard that story, but it has an impact on you. It has an impact on you. So anyways, long story short, as we get through it, he's like, what's going on in my business? And I hear him rant and all this good stuff. And I'm making notes. I write down WTF on my coaching notes. And the first thing that I asked him, without even realizing, looking at it, I said, well, let me ask you this. Where's the focus in your business? Where's the focus in your business? And I mean, right there that, you know, we make our negative moments negative, right? Because we're emotional and we judge them based on previous experiences, based on how we grew up, based on our environment, based on our limiting beliefs, okay? And you may not think you have limiting beliefs. Everyone has some type of limiting beliefs. You know, that's why millions of people read self-help books, is to break through the other side, break through that barrier. But when you can make a conscious decision to change that WTF definition, 3 little letters, into something that is more positive, like where's the focus or win the future, it changes your mindset almost instantly, changes your mindset. It's extremely powerful. And so when you do that, now your mind opens up to new ideas and possibilities. And that is the power, you know, behind WTF. Now with that, these are 3 little words. But in your life and in your business, those things that appear negative, that appear challenging, they are actually positive. And that's what I want to share with you. Because if you always look at those things as a negative, they always will be. Nothing's going to change. You are going to accept it as negative. So when you go back to the first couple of slides and the burning question I had, why is it that some people succeed and others don't? Well, the people that succeed, they're able to look at some of these moments, even though if they're frustrating at the time, learn from them to change their perspective and their outlook on those moments so that they can change the situation, right? You might not be able to change your destination overnight or your outcome overnight, but you can change your direction immediately, okay? And you can change how you look at things. So pretty powerful there, just that changing your perspective on those negative moments. So the power of believing. These are companies and changing perspectives and breaking beyond the limits, right? We're all familiar with Netflix and Blockbuster. I think there's one remaining Blockbuster in Bend, Oregon, okay? And that's where I grew up. That's where I'm from. I don't know why it's there, but it's still there. But it's been taken over by Netflix. Think about that. And here's Blockbuster, huge organization. But see, they were so locked in that they didn't want to upset the apple cart. They didn't want to embrace anything that was new. They didn't want to adapt, right? Because they were fearful of what it may do to their bottom line, to their organization, to their growth. And so what happens? Here comes Netflix, new idea, new concept, open-minded, right? And well, where's Netflix? I can tell you Netflix is the single largest company that is responsible for more internet traffic than any other organization, with all the on-demand videos. Pretty amazing, huh? Netflix worldwide. And then look at Uber, all right? And you have Lyft as well. Taxi industry. They were perfectly positioned to do it, what Uber has done. Make it easier with a simple little app. Could have been game-changing for them, but nope. They didn't want to upset the apple cart. They didn't want to change their model. They didn't want to, get beyond their limiting beliefs and their vision. And here comes Uber, game changer. I don't even know the last time I took taxi. In fact, I don't even like taxis, right? Uber and Lyft is where it's at. So that's the power of believing. Going back to Roger Bannister, right? When you can break through, and now you have other companies doing the same thing. So as a salesperson, and here you are, if you're an insurance, real estate, financial advisor, don't be afraid to have that vision or break out of the normal of what everybody else is doing. Break out of it. There's something new out there. I think there's going to be major changes in, real estate, financial advisors, and the life insurance world. I really do. I think it's just ripe for something big to happen, like a Netflix or Uber. And do you want to be part of it and be on the forefront, or do you want to be a blockbuster in a taxi cab, right? So anyways, let's move on. Do a quick time check. All right, so we're good. Okay, so how do you break through? How do you shift from that into something positive? If we're looking at the WTF, all right, and I call this the Vortex, and this is in my WTF book. But here's what happens when we experience a moment like WTF. It's negative in nature. We're frustrated, right? Because we're not getting the results that we expect. That's it. That's why. But here's what happens. And it truly is like a vortex because it sucks you in. And I've been there, right? I've been there many a times. Trust me. So when you don't have focus on the right things, you're not going to get the right results. And when you don't get results and this progresses, you'll get discouraged. And as you get discouraged, that's when self-doubt starts to set in. And then oftentimes at this point, you start working longer hours, doing more, and you become overwhelmed. All right. And now you're burnt out, you're not getting sleep. And then something happens. Your mindset starts to change. It starts stripping your confidence away because you're doubting yourself. And when your confidence is stripped away, you have self-doubt, you're discouraged, you're burnt out, you're fried. It's like, WTF. That's where fear sets in. Higher levels of frustration, and then burnout. And at that point, you're like, screw it. I'm going to go do something else. That's it. You bail out. You're done. For many people. And you literally could be right there where the next week or the next month where something may change and change everything in your life and business, right? But we bail out, and oftentimes we bail out too soon. So pretty powerful. So how do you change this? Well, getting back, and one of the stories I use, and I like to use stories that people are familiar with. And if you think about Thomas Edison, we've all heard 1,000 tries, right? 1,000 tries. I got to be honest. Would I try 1,000 times or fail 1,000 times? That's a lot. But if you think about what is he doing? He's learning what not to do, right? Okay, that didn't work. Let me try this. And he kept believing in what he was doing. And we have to look at it that way, even though you're in an industry, whether it's real estate, life insurance, or financial advisor, that is kind of set. There's a lot of people you can learn from. And you look back at Thomas Edison, who is he learning from, right? It hadn't been done before. And and he didn't have an Anthony Robbins CD that he could plug in, right? It's like, oh, hey, I'm feeling frustrated. You need to be motivated. Let me grab my, Tony Robbins CD or DVD and plug in. He didn't have that. Didn't have any podcast. Didn't have any of that support. So I believe here's what happens. All right. So when you find someone that is just not just passionate, but there's three things. I call it the core of success. They have their fuel. That is their internal, the more of the soft skills, their purpose, their strengths, their vision. They know who they are. They know what they're passionate about. They know what they're good at, and they're just committed to it, right? When that is aligned with their vision and goals, all right, they know where they want to go. They know what they want to achieve. Then they can align that with the right focus, which is your actions and habits. So this is kind of a model that I put together. When you have all three of these, you're really operating from what I call the core of success. This is how you are able to persevere through the challenging moments, through the vortex. This is how you're able to get yourself out of the vortex Because if you're in the vortex, you're just spinning your wheels. You're living WTF moments each and every day, right? But when you're in the core of success, things are going to happen. And you know what? It's just like, all right, that didn't work. Let me try something else, and you're human. You're still going to have your WTF moments here and there, but they're not going to be the deep vortex WTF moments, right? But this is really important. So how do you create that? Well, a lot of people, you can read self-help books and which is great. I think they're inspiring, they're encouraging. But the problem is, if there's not a follow-up plan, if there's no action, and if there's no alignment with what you learn in those self-help books, it's like a drug. It's just going to wear off a week, 2 weeks, or 30 days later. And it's probably happened to you. It's happened to me, right? And so you have to have an action plan to put it into action, right? And to move forward. And that's really what this is about. All right. And this is about shifting from the WTF vortex to core of success. So how do we do that? And I'm going to share a tool with you here in a minute. But I look at things pretty simple. So I always look, where are you at today? Well, I'm right here at point A. I wanted to get point B. And it's not a simple straight line as you see it here. It's more of a squiggly line, and you'll probably go downhill several times before you make it to your point B, right? But you do have to start, and you've heard this before, you got to start with your plans. You got to start with your goals. You need to create the alignment. And as you start executing your plan, you're going to run into some barriers. And this is where you need to persevere. This is where you just I'm pushing through. I'm committed. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to learn. I don't care if I fail. I don't care what they say. I'm just going to do it and remove those barriers, because you're learning a lot about yourself as you're plugging away here. And as you're removing these barriers, and it may be quick, some of you, it may be like truly busting through a wall and you're banging your head against the wall, right? You're improving your goals and actions. You're actually gaining more clarity to your goals and actions. See, the problem is people will set goals, but unless they execute over time and come back and review those goals and fine tune them, that's where many people, it just falls apart. All right. As you're going through this, something else, which is pretty cool, is happening. For the people that stick with it, you're building a winning mindset. You're building a winning mindset because you're growing. You're learning from your fears. You're learning from your frustrations, your challenges, your failures, all of that. You're learning. All right. And so as you're doing this, a couple things along the way that I always do, self-talk. The first self-help book that I ever read by Shad Helmstetter, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. And I'll never forget this, early 20s. And I sucked at sales. I absolutely sucked. And, to the point, I think it was on the verge of getting fired. And the manager came over, Darren Pryor, great guy. He was just a couple years older than I was, but he really got it. He was a natural salesman. And his dad was a motivational speaker. Anyways, he gave me this book, by Shad Helmstetter, said, "Hey, read this, might help you." Best book I ever read. Changed everything. After I read that book, I'm telling you, I went from literally the worst salesman to the best salesperson in that organization, literally within about 45 to 60 days. It was a game changer for me, the self-talk, because I didn't realize the power of, what are negative thoughts, those self-doubts, what we're telling yourself, right? Especially when you're not very good and you're young, you're thinking, oh, I'm not very good, might get fired, right? What are you doing? You're reinforcing that. And so you have to change that. And so I'm big on self-talk, speaking it into existence, and gratitude. Why is gratitude so important? Here's the number one reason gratitude is so important is one, it is impossible, literally impossible for your mind at the very exact moment to harbor positive thoughts and negative thoughts at the exact same time. So if you're finding yourself overwhelmed, you find yourself negative or just down, the best thing that you can do is literally what I call practice extreme gratitude. And I'm thankful for every little thing. Honestly, I am. I'm thankful for my fingers. When is the last time you were thankful for your fingers that allow you to do all the amazing things on a keyboard to write business? Okay, think about that. I'm very thankful for the ability to speak, the ability to see. I mean, I go through and I'm just so thankful and blessed of the little things, because what happens, we have that. You're on this Zoom call. I know you have your fingers. I know you can talk. I know you can see because you're watching it, right? But when was the last time you were thankful for that? And see, these little things, when we can be extremely grateful for the little things, it pushes out those negative things out of our mind and changes our mindset. It's powerful. It's powerful. It may sound cheesy for some of you. I get it, but practice it. It does amazing things. It really does. And gratitude, being thankful for the little things. So many things we take for granted. Water, right? So is a big one. All right, emotional phases of change. So how do we change? Now, this here is actually from the book. Where do I have it? The 12-week year that I'll share with you. Okay, that's where this comes from. Love that book. All right, highly recommend that you read the book. But here's the deal. Here's what happens. So you start a new gig or you engage in a new goal, right? And, here we are at the end of the year, 2022. And I know there's a lot of, new people that are starting a career in insurance and real estate and as a financial advisor. And you're all excited. You're pumped up and you're going to think 2022 is going to be an amazing year. I'm going to blow it out of the water. So fired up. I got engaged with this really cool company and they're just on fire. Well, you're full of, at this phase one, uninformed optimism because you don't know a darn thing. All right, let's be real. You don't know a darn thing right now. So what happens is you start getting out there and you start running a few barriers, a few challenges. You're having some WTF moments and all that optimism starts to shift into pessimism. And this is where you reach phase two. Informed, you went from uninformed, now informed pessimism. Man, I had some no-shows. I got some chargebacks. That deal fell through. I had 20 appointments and only sold one or two, and that's not what they told me on those podcasts and those videos and those top producers. You're learning. You are learning. And here's what happens is this continues on. I love this chart. As this continues on, we get down to the bottom, phase three, valley of despair. And that's it, valley of despair. This is where many people throw in the towel, they give up, they start something new, start a new career, all excited again, full of optimism, uninformed optimism, right? And this is where you find serial entrepreneurs or serial sales professionals. These people. Hey, I've done it in my past as well. Okay, it's learning. You need to learn about yourself. But here's what happens as you push through the valley of despair. Now you're you're figuring things out. Things are starting to come through. You're crawling out of the vortex. You're crawling out of the valley of despair. And you reach informed optimism. Now you've got a routine. Now you know what the right things to focus on are, and you can get scalable and predictable results, right? You continue on, and now you're at this success and fulfillment. You've got it. You know it. You're top producer. You've got it dialed in. Now you'll still run into some challenges because things change. The economy changes, the market changes, technology changes, things change. So this is not a final destination by all means, but you reach that. All right. It's pretty darn cool. But this is so important. And the reason I share this, regardless of what career you're on, regardless of how young or how old you are, when you embark on something new, you have to understand these phases. It's the growth phase. And again, in society, we have become programmed that when we have a challenge or when we fail, that's a bad thing. It's not. It's a great thing. You should be thankful for those challenges and practice extreme gratitude because you have learned. And if you accept it as a failure and a mistake, it will be, because that means you didn't learn from it. All right. How do you become a better salesperson? You learn from mistakes. I talk with agents all the time, and I can't tell you how many agents I've talked to that said, yeah, when I started off, I sucked, but, they stuck with it. They learned the tricks of the trade, so to speak, and, how to close, how to present, more about themselves as well, to get to that stage. So very, very important. So how do we change that? Well, last little chart I'll share with you here, and then, we'll bring it to a close here in just a few minutes. So I talked to you about the Vortex, and I talked to you about the core of success, and I mentioned emotional intelligence. All right. Every decision you make, little or big, is a key moment, and you have an opportunity to make the right decision, or an intelligent decision, or an emotional decision. If you don't make a decision, many people, I'm not going to make a decision today. I'm not going to decide. Well, basically what you're doing is you're shoving it to the side, and at some point you're going to let your emotions make this decision for you, or that situation or circumstance is going to make the decision for you. You're basically choosing to opt out and not make a decision. That is not an intelligent decision, right? You need to make an informed and intelligent decision. So how do you do that? Well, this is where I circle back to where goals and focus are so important. If you don't know where you're going, if you don't know what you want to achieve in 2022, if you don't know how much business you want to write, if you don't know any of that and you don't have it written down, how are you going to make an intelligent decision? How are you going to make an informed decision? Because you don't know. And therein lies the problem, why some people succeed and others don't. All right. You have to be focused. You have to have your goals, and you have to learn that this just doesn't happen. It really becomes a habit and a strength. You have to learn how to make intelligent and informed decisions. All right. But you have to have a basis for that, and that's your goals. Otherwise, what's going to happen? You make these emotional decisions. I can tell you, you're going to land right here in the WTF vortex. You're going to feel like a victim, right, of circumstances. You're going to feel like a victim of life. All right. And I know life happens, but guess what? There's a lot of people life happens to, and they end up over here in the core of success because they make an informed, intelligent decision, and they decide to draw that line in the sand. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be fully committed. I'm all in, right? So a couple books that I highly recommend. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, Mastering the Inner Game of Wealth. For me, this is a great book. It just kind of talks to you about how millionaires think, people with money think, because they think differently than, people that were, born and raised without money. All right. And that was myself. All right. My parents were not wealthy at all. Just, average, worked a regular, blue collar job, and that was it. And that's for many people. Right. So this is a great book, and you have to reprogram your mind. And the only way to do that is to read. Now, one of the things that I talk about in my WTF book over here, the easy way to do it is to read a chapter a day. That's it. A chapter a day. You can read in 15, 20 minutes over your coffee in the morning, chapter a day. Do you realize that if you read a chapter a day, you will read on average a book to a book and a half per month? And then think about this. So what are we talking? 12 to 15 books over the course of a year? How much more valuable would you be to yourself and to others? How much more information would you have about your trade, whether it's insurance or real estate, or your mindset and goals, if you read that many books? How many books have you read this year? See, we can't reprogram our mind if we don't introduce new information to it. So by introducing new information, from some of these experts and authors out there that are experts in this area. I mean, it's phenomenal. I absolutely love reading books, and there's a ton of them out there on Amazon. These are some of my favorites that I recommend to new salespeople and to agents to begin with, but don't stop there. There's a ton of them. So 12-week year, love that book. That chart I was just sharing with you came from that book. Slide Edge is a great one. And then in my WTF book, I talk about in the WTF book, where's the focus? Where's the frustration? Where's the fallacies that you're telling yourself, those lies and excuses, right? You have to break out of that. But the second part of the book is about putting together your action plan, putting together your goals. And that's what I'm going to share with you. It's called a success dashboard. So if you want a copy of this, I will email you a copy of it. I created it in Excel. Okay. And so you can fill it out and then you can print it, or you can leave it in Excel, leave it as a PDF, however you want, but scan this QR code with your phone. Just open your camera up on your phone, scan it, fill out the little form, and I'll get notified and I'll send it to you. It's an Excel file, and all the programming's built into it. It's pretty cool stuff. It's really cool stuff. But here's the deal with the form. All right. Let me pull one up for you. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull it up. Let me go to my Excel file, and I'm just going to share this with you. Here it is. This is what you're looking at. And there's macros, so you'll probably get an error when you open it. It'll say not safe because I have macros and programming that total things. All right. So here's the deal. The first section is all about where's the fuel. Those are the things, your purpose, your passion, your vision. You need to know. Many people don't talk about it. Many people don't even know what that is. Do you know what your core values and beliefs are? Do you know what your strengths are, right? And again, I'm setting you up to create that core of success. Then your goals. And I have some data that I've plugged in here, really more tailored towards life insurance, okay? But you can just overwrite it real easy, okay? Your goals. Now look here, 1 to 2 year goals. And notice I don't give you a lot of room to write a lot of goals. The problem is most people have way too many goals and they're spread themselves too thin. You can't do that, all right? Then once you have your goals, you align your actions. You have your quarterly focus, and then what are your actions, okay? And then the accountability worksheet. At the end of the day, somebody's got to hold yourself accountable. Well, this worksheet, when you use it every day, is going to hold yourself accountable. It's going to tell you if you're spinning your wheels, you're getting traction. You simply answer yes or no. You either achieved this task or you didn't. There's no gray area. You either got it done or you didn't, right? And it's going to tell you. This is really eye-opening for people. But anyways, I'm going to send this to you. This is extremely powerful. My book is on Amazon, and you can get that. The Kindle version's free. If you have a Kindle, just download it, or you can buy it. Amazon sells it for 18 to 21 bucks or something like that. But here's the deal. OMG. I want to leave you with this. One major goal. What is your one major goal that will change your life and business in 22? What is that? Forget about everything else. The problem is people have way too many goals. Focus on that one major goal. Is it a financial goal? For many people it is. But what is that goal? What is it that would change your life and business? Put all your energy, all your effort, your thoughts, your power, your mindset behind your one major goal, and make that happen. All right, make that happen. And are you already thinking about a plan B? Well, if you are, that means your plan A is not the right plan. It's either too aggressive or it's not the right goal at all. You don't need to have a plan B if you're fully committed to your plan A and it's the right plan. Okay. Now, with that being said, there might be some stepping stones along the way to help you get to your plan A. But anyways, we'll talk about all that, and we're going to do another session next week. We're going to help you dial all this in. But anyways, again, here's the QR code for the sheet. If you want the WTF book, just go out to Amazon. You download the free Kindle, like you said, or you can buy it on Amazon. It's a great read. Even though I wrote it, I still make a lot of notes. You can see all my notes here, from the WTF book. Great stuff. But anyways, thank you guys for allowing me to share this with you. I truly want to set you up to have an amazing 2022. Let's see. I'm going to take a look at my chat box here. And it looks like we got a few chats. So let me answer a few of these chats here. Let me just open this up. All right. All right. John, Warren Buffett, the best. Yes, that you're absolutely right. The best investment you can make is in yourself. Yeah. Okay. Yep. We'll make sure you get a copy. Dixon, the QR code opens a webinar registration. That is correct. It does. Fill that out. That comes to me. That was for this webinar. Dixon, you fill that out. I'll have your information. As soon as we're off, I'm going to email everybody the worksheet. So I'm going to email it to you one-off, the Excel worksheet, because some of the, like Google and Gmail and whatever, sometimes they don't like Excel sheets with the macros built in. So it's a safe worksheet. You can open it up. So you're good. Excellent. That's all the questions. So anyways, here's the deal. Next Friday, we've got another one coming up. We're going to be talking about, the power of focus, really helping you, set proper goals and using that form. So you definitely want to make sure you fill out this form so I can email you the success dashboard and start using that. And let me come back to the success dashboard real quick with this. I have mine. Okay. It's right here on my desk. And one of the things that I do every morning literally takes me 3 to 5 minutes is I read through that. I have this indelible picture of this dashboard with my goals in my mind because I read it every day. So then when I'm faced with a challenge or a decision, whatever it may be, my mind can easily pull that information from my goals, pull my task and my goals so that I can help my mind make an informed and intelligent decision. Because each decision you make, it's either supporting your goal and moving you forward or it's not. Think about that. So are you moving closer to your goal or are you further away in every decision? And, when we make the emotional decisions, typically you're, moving further away from your goal. That's why this is so important. So important. But here's the other thing you'll find in the sheet. See these little red dots here? I have instructions right there, programmed. I give you a little coaching tip on what it's about. And if you have the book, it'll tell you exactly what page you can find more information on. So you'll find that. But and we're going to talk more about this next week. How often has anybody talked to you about understanding your roadblocks, your obstacles, and your derailers? Well, you need to know what those are so that they don't happen again. So you're aware of it when it's coming to what your derailer is, because once you get derailed, oftentimes it can be a little harder to get back on track. But if you have my success dashboard, it makes it easier to get back on track because everything's right there. So we'll cover more next week. Anyways, I'm going to leave you guys with that. Hope you have an awesome weekend. I know I'm going to, we're doing some holiday stuff where I think we're going to take a family photo in my ugly, shirt here, California shirt, whatever you call it, instead of the ugly sweater. But anyways, you guys have a great weekend and I'll see you next Friday. Okay. Have a good one. Take care.